Hey, welcome back to another episode of Tech Talk. I am your host, Jeff Hootselle, Chief Cloud Officer with Auditmacs. As you guys know, Tech Talk is a show. We talk to IT leaders and we talk to subject matter experts in the technology field about a wide range of things, everything from current topics to trends that are happening in the industry to their companies and the technologies they're working in today, and get kind of their unique insights on the world. We always have great guests. Today is no different. We've actually got Ben Howard coming to us from Portland, Oregon. Ben is the co-founder and CTO of KinectAir. Ben, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
So Ben, for folks that aren't familiar with KinectAir, maybe tell them a little bit at the top just about the company and kind of your unique approach to the market.
Yeah, so we are the un-airline. Everybody knows today airlines are struggling with the whole pandemic and reduced travel. We are one of the folks who is actually excited about this opportunity because of the way we can change aviation going forward. Aviation has been basically the same for the last 50 years, and it needs to evolve, and today's the day to do it.
Yeah, so as you guys look to kind of come in and disrupt this market, like you said, it's a market that really hasn't changed for a long time in terms of how schedules are built, how they serve their customers, the cost aspect of it and all these things. It's kind of just, it's been the same way for a long time now, at least since the emergence of companies like Southwest and things like that. That's the last time I can think of really any kind of unique change in the industry. When you talk about disrupting this marketplace, what are the aspects of your company that are really going to allow you to do that? What makes your approach different?
So current airlines are scheduled using spreadsheets and some big complicated software, some of them even maybe on a whiteboard. But what it amounts to is that they can't change their schedule dynamically, that somebody figures it all out at the beginning of the year and they just run what they run. So if there's social issues or environmental issues, weather and things like that, they can't respond to it. The same thing goes for, a big sports game and everybody wants to go see the finals. They can't change their schedule to run more flights to make that possible because their schedule is lockstep. What we want to do is start with software in the beginning and use that all the way through our process. So we're a proper third wave company that we have the infrastructure and it's designed around software rather than having software put on top of it. And what that lets us do is our scheduling is based on AI, and so it's designed for dynamic scheduling. So as weather potentially disrupts flights, it reschedules. As sports teams or environmental issues like pandemics, we can change that schedule and continue meeting demand as it throttles up and down. So current airlines, they run against some average schedule, and essentially they miss the peaks of demand and can't catch them, and then they eat the troughs. And so essentially they lose money on both sides of that. For us being dynamic, we'll be able to run more planes when we need them and run fewer planes when we don't, because our scheduler is capable of recalculating that whole schedule over and over and over again, to the point where every time we consider that schedule change, it's already figured out the value of the current schedule versus the new schedule and decides whether to make that change or not. So we've got a huge advantage in being built on top of that software rather than having that put in as an afterthought.
Yeah, I mean, everything you're talking about it covers the whole gamut, right? So what I'm hearing, it sounds like the user experience, is going to be vastly different just from the fact that you're recognizing those peaks and drops in demand, when folks need to get a flight to catch a game, or there's something else going on that's going to impact that. But you mentioned the cost side as well for your company in the back end to be much more efficient in kind of how you run. You're not flying empty planes, right? You're not overspending on routes that you don't need to. So a lot of different things that come into that. So talk about how you guys have developed that from a technology standpoint. I mean, you mentioned it's not the guy in the back room doing spreadsheets anymore. It's when it comes to translating translating technology into the user experience is a whole different gamut. I mean, talk about how you've approached that.
Yeah, so we've obviously got the back end piece that's going to be the backbone of this, and so there's a lot of work to do there to make sure that our schedule runs smoothly, make sure that we run economically, and on top of that, you're exactly right. We don't a totally new user experience. The way people book flights today, you can look a year into the future and say, hey, Southwest, I'd like this ticket this date, and just do it. That means that they're very brittle and not able to respond to that. And so our experience for booking a ticket is going to be different. So we're going to have to do some user experiments to find out what people like and will respond to. But we also have to educate and change the way they're doing things, that we won't be able to do it that way in the future, to make sure that we stay dynamic. And so the booking process is going to have potentially a different look and feel that allows people to see that dynamic nature of things, but also have that reassurance that they can book something and be confident that their ticket's gonna go. That if you had to gamble whether you're going to get your flight or not, that's not any good either.
Right.
So we have to find the right dynamic between the two of those.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think the ability to be very nimble and customer focused is a huge advantage today, right? I mean, the typical complaints you hear about folks with the airline industry, as somebody who travels a lot, is, it's very rigid. There's a lot of bureaucracy. There is no flexibility. It's laden with fees and change fees and things like that. As they can kind of change on their end, but you can't change on your end as a customer without a lot of penalties to it. It sounds like you guys are taking an entirely different approach to that. So,
that part of the reason the airlines drag their feet on changes is that they can't respond to it. It hurts them, right? And for us, that's absolutely not the case. That we have dynamic baked into what we do, and so for us, changes and things like that are no big deal. And so we can be a lot more flexible with customer time and with change fees and things like that. We don't have to do it. That it doesn't cost us any money to make those changes, where it does with some of the legacy airlines.
Yeah. So Ben, you talked a little bit about the current state the airlines are in right now, and kind of this being a big opportunity for you guys.
Yep.
So with that being presented, and you talk about the need for education, how are you guys approaching that? There's this opportunity that's ripe for the taking, but people need to be re-educated a little bit because your model is different. How are you guys approaching that aspect of it?
We try not to say re-educated. It sounds like a camp that you might get put in.
Right. It's a good thing. A bad thing. Well, no different than I would think like Uber, like for the taxi industry, like Uber was different.
Sure.
The idea of going onto your phone and clicking on it versus doing hailing a cab.
Right. So we look to a lot of those kinds of companies who did change the way we interact with those services. So Uber and Lyft are our pair. All of the different booking models for travel and things like that we now have, looking to vacation rentals and things like that, have totally changed the way we interact with these services. And so there's definitely some precedent for changing the way customer behavior works. And so we look to them as both good examples and bad examples of how that worked out for us to go forward on.
So Ben, the last question I've got for you. So we've talked a lot in the last few weeks about COVID-19 and the stay-at-home orders and schools closing and the negative impact of the economy. And there's all this negative news out there as it relates to the pandemic, and there's certainly plenty of that. We don't want to take it lightly at all. But as you're looking at this and kind of the legacy of this pandemic and everything that's done to it, what are some of the positive aspects you would see coming out of this that we can look forward to? Hey, innovation is always caused by disruption and change, and a lot of the worst times that we suffer as a country have spawned new companies and new ideas and new innovation. What do you see when we look at this situation we're in now and coming out of this? What are some of the positive things you think will come from this?
Yeah, definitely see a huge opportunity to rewrite some of the big heavy industries that we've got. That aviation is definitely one, like I mentioned before. They really haven't changed in a real long time. And for better or worse, this is a chance to rip off the Band-Aid and start over again. We've got an opportunity here to make an aviation industry that is more responsive to customers, more environmentally friendly by not flying flights you don't need to, and totally transform that experience to go that next generation, to make it so that you can do direct flights places, to make it so that you can adjust flights to your schedule, things that we take for granted in our on-demand world. This is a chance to bring them to aviation. So the pandemic has absolutely hit hard on all of the legacy carriers. And so us starting up now is a huge advantage in that playing field, that we get to come to the table with no debt, with no legacy contracts, without a lot of this baggage and or potentially really invasive deals that they make for bailouts and things like that, that may hobble them for a real long time. This is our chance to jump in there and make aviation the way we always wanted it to be.
Yeah, Ben, it's a really exciting company. I think you guys are doing some amazing stuff, and it's really going to shake things up, I think. Certainly we'd love to hear more about it. So as folks are starting to look and book their travel plans for later this year and coming into next year, I mean, where can they go find out more about you guys?
So we've got KinectAir.com, and it's spelled with a K, KINECT air.com. And we are actively working right now to build out parts of our fleet and work on a bunch of the software in the background that we need to manage it. And hopefully we'll be open to the public shortly.
No, it's terrific. Well, Ben, it's always a pleasure to see people that are really attacking the market and looking to disrupt it and do some new innovative things. And you guys are certainly right in that mix. So thank you so much for joining us today, telling us more about your company and about what you guys are up to.
Yeah.
We appreciate having you.
Yep, thanks for having me on.
All right, great. And thank you guys for joining us as well. Go check out KinectAir and learn more about what they're doing, and check out some more of our shows online, and we'll look forward to catching you in the next one.